after the match is done, if you're done shooting, hey, did you shoot good? Nope. There's whiskey in the truck. Hey, did you shoot good? Yep. There's whiskey in the truck. Hey, Brian, how you doing?
I'm doing well. Everything's going great. I am staying busy and already had some events I've been to and getting ready to leave to go to a lot more. And the year's going to kick in and probably got 35 to 42 events I'm looking at attending this year. So,
Jeez. Okay, so for those that don't know, because I know Brian very well, hence why I invited him to be on the podcast here. Brian Conley, you are the CEO of Triple Forks Hunting, which is one of the smaller things that most people probably don't know about you. Those that
right.
do know you from Hunter's HD Gold, at least in my world, which is the
Yep.
competition world. But on top of that, you're also part of is at the Optical Prescription Lab. So I think
Exactly.
that's kind of like your parent company, right? Like,
Yeah. Optical Prescription Lab pays the bills.
got it. So obviously Brian knows quite a bit about these things right here, all different shapes and sizes and colors and all that kind of stuff. So, well, the reason I wanted to bring Brian on here is because one, we wanted to talk a little bit about that, but two, Brian is a huge fan of firearms, aren't you, Brian?
Yes, most definitely.
Let's start off with how you went from the first of all, if anyone looks on your Facebook page, they see that you were actually a insurance salesman with State Farm for a while there, right?
Yep, exactly.
Now, for that,
I'm still licensed to sell insurance in the state of Alabama. Every 2 years, I go take my CE credits because I'm always like, all right, I need a backup plan if something's wrong at the lab. So I've been keeping those up every 2 years with CE credits. So I still get job offers all over the place to go sell insurance.
See, not many people know that back in the day, I actually did have my life insurance license, and that was very much, like, it's not that it was a difficult test, but it was just like a test where, like I'm not a lawyer. I don't know the lingos that they talk, stuff like that. So it's like, why can't they just say like, hey, don't jump off any buildings, dummy. But no, it's like, in the event of a strategical a sudden deceleration due to the acceleration brought on forth with gravity, the pursuant or defendant is therefore hereby. I'm like, oh my gosh, look, if you jump off a building, you're not getting paid, okay? That's how you work. But all right, so you started with that, and then you got into the optics world. Now you've told me, and I want everyone else to kind of hear. Let's talk about how you were introduced to the world of firearms, and I believe you were you introduced to firearms before you got into, the cowboy action kind of stuff, or?
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Okay.
I grew up in a retail world, and I started doing retail management when I was 21 years old. And I didn't even have a weekend off until I was 40. So, that's just my lifestyle of, how it was when I grew up that way in retail. But in October of 2011, Sherry's father passed away, and I inherited, guns from her father that was her grandfather's. Now, her grandfather was the mayor of Bessemer, Alabama for 18 years, Jess Lanier. So there was a lot of history. So I started getting involved in the history of some of these guns and finding out some of the rifles and shotguns and everything else I was looking at, and looking at old pictures that I saw, and I saw these shotguns being used by, with Jess Lanier and Bear Bryant and Pat Dye and all the guys from, the legacy of Alabama football and Auburn football in the state of Alabama. So I got intrigued by that alone, and then I just started collecting calibers after that, and after 2011. So I started off, I think my very first gun I bought on my own was the Smith & Wesson 22, AR-22.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And I think I bought that back in 2012. Yeah, 2012. Yeah, it would have been when I bought that rifle for the first time. And I actually just gave it away to another gentleman who was not known, I won't tell too much of the story, but he was a gentleman who was nervous about firearms and he was nervous about ARs in general. And I said, well, go take this with your family and go shoot one weekend. And, I met him and I got to told him to go shoot. I know he's a law abiding citizen. I knew what I was doing by, abiding all the laws that we had. And so I loaned him the gun to go shoot. And I, on purpose, didn't call him back to get it back. And I waited about a month or two. And I just got through seeing him at the bank the other day. And I walked in the door and I was doing some business. He goes, I've been waiting to see you. I got your, rifle at the house. I need to get it back to you. I said, well, we'll talk about that in a second. I said, how was your experience? He goes, man, that was fun. That was just fun. You told me I'd go through a lot of 22 ammunition, and I did. And I looked at him. I said, you just said the word I needed to hear you say based on the conversation we probably had 2 or 3 months ago, where he didn't understand why people needed that platform in anything. And when he said the word fun, it sparked something in my mind. I said, well, I'm not going to say the name, but I'm going to give that to you. This is now yours. And he goes, what? I said, that was my very first one that I bought for myself. I'm gifting it to you. I want you to take it to your property. You've got everything to handle it safely. And that's now going to be, that's my gift to you, because the word fun is what I needed to hear out of your mouth. And I know your family personally for over 20 years. That was an amazing way to pass on, because he never owned a gun before. So it was one of those things. Well, I'll take that back. He'd owned some pistols and stuff, and they shot some stuff on the property they owned, but he'd never owned an AR platform gun before.
Okay.
So I sent him on his way, and just the happiest he could be. And to use the word fun, and there's a lot more to it with our Second Amendment to be able to, we have the right to hunt, we have the right to protect ourselves, but there's the fun part that is not ever talked about. And when he used those words, it made my entire day. And I'm actually glad I got to tell the story. I wish I could tell more, but some of these people, they're in the public interest, and they just have to be that way. So, but it's a wonderful. So the very first one I bought on my own from Hoover Tactical has now moved on to somebody else in the Hoover area. So it's kind of neat how you just, you spread you spread the Second Amendment through different ways, and that was my way to spread it just 2 months ago. So
awesome. And then now from there, you kind of started, because don't get me wrong, I got an M&P 1522. It's a great little rifle.
Yes. Yeah.
But you also have some guns that are worth 10 of those at the same time.
Yeah, I started collecting. Let me get back into the story real quick, because I do get off pace, and I apologize, John. You just have to
not a
get
problem.
back on track. But when I started collecting calibers, you got to keep in mind, I didn't know anything about it. So when I bought a caliber gun, let's start going to the 9mm category. I think that was the first pistol I bought. I also bought reloading stuff for it, going to reel to reload. So I taught myself how to reload on YouTube. I remember the very first bullet I reloaded. It was funny. I had an apron on from work or something. I was here in my gun room doing it, and I go tell Sherry, "Look what I made! Look what I made! I made a bullet!" And she's like, "What?" I was so excited about it, because I taught myself how to do all that, and through just simply investing the time myself to do it, because it was a new thing that I was getting into. And when I get into something, which we'll talk about a little bit, I'm into it 100%. So
yeah, absolutely.
Collecting guns became expensive, because I wasn't just buying the guns. I was buying the dyes, the powder, the primers, the projectiles. I could show you around the corner of my gun room, but I have to send you a picture. But that's a whole reloading area that I haven't touched in probably 5 years now, because I don't have time. But when I got into something, I got into it 100%. And then through doing all that, I'm working at the lab, in the optical prescription lab at this time. And, we were under a different presidency back then, and a lot of people were buying land. A lot of stuff was going crazy with politics that I wasn't really aware of. But I was talking to my best friend and a guy from work I said, we need to, look at investing in some property. And we looked around. I told Lane, my business partner, I said, we need to find a place that is at least 2 hours from a 2 hour drive. I'd like to have, water, electricity, and if it has a building or a house, that's great. But if not, if we got electricity and water, we can build and do anything we want to do. And then put it out there, and then I didn't think much about it. And all of a sudden, Lane called me up about probably, I don't know, 3 or 4 weeks later, and he said, "Hey, I think I found a place in Millport, Alabama." I went out there, and I called the number, and it was a guy named John Coates, who I bought the property from. And we became friends and just hung out because I build relationships with pretty much everybody I run into. And he used it as hunting property and everything else, and it was 240 acres when we looked at it. And we put all the numbers together, and we ended up buying the property in March of 2013. So you see how fast it's moved from October 2011 to March of 2013. When I jump into something, keep in mind, I didn't own anything firearm related at all up until October of 2011. So when it started kicking in, it was kicking in.
Yeah.
And when we bought it, I said, hey, I've been in retail world for a long time. I know a lot of people out there. I'm working at State Farm. Well, I was working at State Farm before. I met a lot of executives. I said, I could probably set something up, and we could, get this place done right and rent out some hunts and help pay for the place. And that's how that kind of got started with Triple Forks Hunting. So, and then with Triple Forks Hunting was another story where I'm out there, I remember where I was, but I was on one of the green fields hunting one day, and I was just had regular, clear lenses on because I've always wore glasses. And I said, I think Lane might have been sitting with me, or it might have been Danny at the time. And I said, I've got to find something to be able to see, pick up antlers better, because we're hunting on some gas lines that when we bought the place, didn't have a lot of green fields built, but I was hunting on, and gas lines, 50 to 60 yards wide sometimes. But my point being is, if you're like this looking at binoculars and you're looking down, 400 yards away, I think 465 is max on one of the gas lines. You're looking this far away, all of a sudden you go, uh-oh, yep, there's antlers. Then you come down and go get your rifle and come back up. You're seeing the rear end of the deer because they're smart. They're not hanging out a long time on the gas line because they keep losing their cousins that way. It doesn't work out.
Right, yeah.
So I went back to the lab and started creating a lens for me to hunt with. And after 60 to 70 different variations of yellow and gold and everything else in between, we came up with a formula, because it didn't have a name when I first created it. No name at all. It's just something I made for myself. This is all about just this is for me, nanny boo boo. I got access to a lab. I'm walking to the lab, making Marcus, the lab manager, mad all the time. I'm like, no, this isn't working here. Do something else. And Sherry's like, what are we doing? I'm like, I'm playing mad scientist right now. Let me figure this out. And I started looking, trying to figure things out. I started learning more about lenses that I even thought was possible during this time. So I started looking at, of course, you've heard me talk about plastic lenses. You've heard me talk about polycarbonate that everybody knows about. Then I found this material called Trivex. And then the Trivex allows 43% more light to pass through the lens than clear polycarbonate. So I was like, okay, the base material is going to be Trivex. And that was my whole thing from the get-go, because it was the best material to put optics into for my prescription. Mm-hmm. And then we, went through the whole process, and like I said, there's probably nicks on the wall where Marcus is counting down how many days he has before he's going to take me out, because I frustrated him a lot, and he put up a lot of patience working with me because I don't know how to dye lenses. It was one of those things I'm having to go to somebody else for help, but I'm instructing them. I need this for this, and it's not this, it's not that. Then I go out the weekend and hang out at the camp and do everything there, and come back like, no, this ain't it. So I'd get 4 or 5 more pair, made up that week, and take all of them out there the next weekend and doing all this different things. No, I don't like that and this, and we finally figured it out, and I got it right after probably about 2 or 3 months, really. It took a while. It took a
Mm.
while because we were working with different bases. You've heard me talk about Hunter's HD Gold that can be used indoors and outdoors, and then go back indoors. You don't have to take them off. And the reason we did that is because in the shooting house, it's already covered, and there's could be light coming in from the light and everything else. But when the sun was coming in from the shooting house, the gray base photochromic was too dark inside
Hmm.
the shooting house. So the brown base that Hunter's HD Gold is made with allowed that extra light. I'm like going, okay, I can still see. So much. I should have took notes, and I should have done a. That's a whole nother story. That could be a whole nother podcast about all that stuff, because when it's just crazy.
Well, you see, that brings up an interesting point. Every person, I think, feels that their life is interesting enough to have a uh, a film crew follow them around because, oh man, that was a great moment, and everyone in the world would have loved to see that moment. And so, in reality, like me, I do it more for selfish reasons. I think I was funny as hell in that moment. I wish someone got that on camera, right? But I always said, and I actually there's how when like sometimes you place a bet on something and then like down the road you realize just how wrong you were. So there is a video out there on the internet of me shooting my very first handgun ever.
Wow.
Unfortunately, that video was on MySpace, which no longer
Oh, nice.
exists. Which I can't get it anymore. So,
Yep.
but if I would have known how much firearms was going to change my world, like
Right.
it wasn't just like okay, yeah, now I'm a gun owner. It's what I do now. Um,
Right.
Man, I would have hired a film crew to come out there and film that day for me so that I could have had a better memory and recollection of it.
I understand it, because it'd have been a great show of drama with me and Marcus and everybody fighting at the lab. That'd have been good stuff for TV.
All right, so you got this lens developed. You got it to where
So
you like it, and then
yes.
so you got this hunting property now, and then now you've got some
Yep.
firearms. Now, how do
Yep.
we go from okay, this is just a lens that Brian likes, and it's all me, mine, and no one else can have it, to what you do now, which is you can't really walk through not just a national event. You can't walk through a gun range that is hosting a USPSA event without having someone on a squad. Like each squad will have someone that's probably got a pair of your lenses in them. So let's talk
Well,
about
I,
that.
I appreciate that, because I remember the first time I went to a USPSA, no, excuse me, a Steel Challenge match. And I remember, having sponsored the rangestore.net, steel target paint shooting team. That's what kind of got all this started, which we'll get into in a second. But I just want to talk about what you just made a comment about. And I remember there was all the steel target paint shooting team all stayed together on one squad. And I was talking to Larry, who owns Steel Target Paint. And I was like going, why don't you, I said, why do you want everybody shooting together for the same team? That makes no sense to me marketing wise, because everybody's here. They're their own little group. But if you took, these 12 people and put them on the 8 different stages, and there's everybody talking about your brand, and there's everybody seeing my lenses. And he
Yeah.
goes, well, that's not a bad idea, but everybody just kind of likes to shoot together. I said, well, I don't care what they like. This is a business. And Larry's like, well, yeah, but I don't want to upset anybody. I was like, okay, Larry, I'm just telling you, man. But I remember going from seeing everything in one squad, just like you said. And I remember the day, it was a USPSA match. I don't remember the match, but I remember I was at the range and I watched. And at least when I knew, I was like, I got it, because I had one person wearing Hunter's HD Gold in every single squad early on. And that was back in probably 2018 when that happened. But I remember it vividly, because I was like, oh, wow, everybody, somebody's, wearing Hunter's HD Gold in every squad. And then it happened the same thing. And when it happened in USPSA, that was a really cool thing. But how did we get there? And, you know, Lane Evans, my business partner, was wearing Hunter's HD Gold at the cabin. he says, "Man, you really, he had a prescription as well." He says, "Man, you're really onto something with this. This would be cool for like a hunting lens or something like that to get in the hunting market." I was like, "No, I don't. I don't. That doesn't interest me." It shot it down pretty quick, and then,
Dummy.
we put what's that?
Yeah, dummy. That's what you're
Yeah,
saying to
exactly.
yourself now, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I didn't think there was a market. I didn't think there was a market for that. And then Lane says we ought to put some of these up at the cabin when people come to hunt, and they can use them here as just another tool. Because I was working with firearms back then, and a guy named Jake Kaiser was working there, and he was very helpful in getting Triple Forks going. He put demos out there of Steyr, rifles to shoot, which are some of the ones I still hunt with today, that I bought. And it was pretty neat because we had a place out there because Steyr was in a situation where they wanted somebody come in town from another state to get their gun. They had a place to go take them to hunt if they wanted to. So it was just one of those contacts that I'd made, through looking when I started getting interested in firearms. I found out that Steyr Arms was made in over in Bessemer, Alabama, and I was like going, all right, that's cool. So I went and knocked on the door one day, and they're not open to the public, but I'm still going in. So
Yep.
there's another story about that in a second. But I met Jake, who was real big in sales, and we hit it right off. He's a great young gentleman that is doing well today. He's still in the industry of different things, but it's one of those things where, I remember him having these Steyr Arms used to have open house, an advertised open house, and they'd have people come in from all over, and they do it through a Saturday and Sunday. And he had told me a long time ago, this back in 2016, before anything really got started, "Hey, we're doing an open house. You ought to bring some of your lenses in here and let people look at them." I was like, "All right." And I didn't have a name or anything. But I did some stuff there with him, and then. You might have heard the story on another podcast, but we were having a lake built at Triple Forks hunting, and the gentleman was out there on a bulldozer, moving dirt around, and I'm all into it because I pretty much take it on my weekend to go from being in retail management to learning I'm going to learn how to farm and do this other stuff. Now, this is kind of cool, so I'm all in.
Yep.
So that's where I'm at on the weekends again. I'm out here working. I'm on a tractor doing something. But this guy was moving dirt around because we're building a lake, and he came to me and goes, "Hey, I need some more of this wasp spray. It looks like it's made up in Pelham." I was like, "All right." He threw it to me, and I looked at it, and it was just wasp spray. I was like, "Okay, Pelham. That's in my neighborhood. I'll look it up. I'll be back in the office on Monday. I'll go check it out." So Monday I went and looked at the paint can, got the address. And I was like, "Dang, that's only one exit down from me off the interstate. That's not far." So I went by there and knocked on the door again. Not open to the public. Had to be buzzed in, and it was a company called Rainbow Technologies. And I went in there with this, and ladies at the front desk like, "Who you here to see?" And I was like, "No, I'm here to buy this wasp spray. My guy building me a lake needs it." She goes, "Well, we don't really sell to the public." I was like, "Well, okay, just tell me how I can go buy it." And they're like, "Well, we only really sell to, Alabama Power, Bell South Mobility, all these major companies." I'm like, "Okay, cool. Tell me how I can go buy it." She's like, "Hold on a second." So she went back in the back and grabbed this guy out of Rainbow Technologies. This big guy comes out of the back with a beard and everything else, looking all, "Like, can I help you?" And I'm like going, "Yep, I just need some wasp spray. I'm not going to be a problem." And he's like, "Well, we don't sell to the public, but let me give you a website to go to, blah, 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 and I'll be on my merry way." I was like, "Fair enough. That's all I need. I order online, not a problem at all." And I left one of my cards for Triple Forks hunting. So I said, "Thank you so much. If ever need any help with anything, let me know." And there's my card, and that's how it went. So I think about this is on a Monday, so I'm thinking might have been not even a week. I get this phone call just out of the blue, and it's Larry Joe Steely Jr., who is one of the owners of Rainbow Technologies. He goes, "Hey, my marketing guy just put your card on my desk and said that somebody, you tried to come by and buy some, wasp spray." I was like, "Yeah, I'm just need some wasp spray, blah, blah." Have you ordered it? I said, "Yeah, I've already ordered it." He goes, I don't know why he didn't call me. We could have figured out something there. I said, no, it's no big deal. I don't mind. And so basically, I got, I see you got some hunting property. Like, yeah, sure do. And sure enough, we talked about it, and he booked a hunt for him, his brother, who's also owns a company, and one of their nephews, and they all came out to Triple Forks hunting, and he saw the lenses there and started asking about it and everything else, and didn't do anything out because he had a prescription, so he never wore them from the very beginning. He just started asking questions. But he asked me a question because we became friends. So that's going to be a reoccurring thing. I make a lot of friends, everybody I meet. It's just I build relationships. My dad had always taught me, when you meet somebody, just see what doors are open, because you can always open every single door and go in. And if you don't like it, turn around and get out. So it's not a big deal to open that door. So I build relationships with everybody just for just habit. I love knowing about people. But he asked me one day, we were talking on the phone or something after the hunt, had a great time hunting and everything else. And I was telling him my story about how I bought the property, which was entertaining itself because I have never done anything. And he was a big gun guy. And he goes, you ever shot, cowboy action shooting? I'm like, no, what is that? And he goes, well, they do it up here at Brock's Gap. It's something where you'll have a lever action, 2 pistols, and a shotgun. It's all cowboy. You dress up as cowboy. I'm in. I like it. So, needless to say, I said, what do I need to get started? And he told me, well, you need to get a lever action, blah, 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 some pistols and everything else. So I said, I'm like, all right, good. I needed another reason to go buy some guns. And I bought this is funny because I bought a Navy Arms Winchester 1873 lever action 38 special. And I called Larry and told him what I bought. And he goes, what are you talking about? He goes, you just bought the most expensive lever action gun there is. That's a wall hanger. I said, no, ain't nothing I got as a wall hanger. It was $2,499, for this Navy Arms, turnbull hardening, octagon barrel. It's already short stroked for competition, but it's not supposed to be. And he goes, you got your revolvers yet? And I was like, no. He goes, well, go ahead and get you a Ruger Vaqueros. They got a kit out there you can buy. There's, serial numbers are right there next to each other. And then send them to me, and we'll send them off to this guy. I think is Ohio or so. I don't know. I bought the guns, gave them to him. He sent them off, came back, $1,500 later on top of the guns. They're, tuned. They've got everything done to them. He goes, well, I've got to, get a Stoger, double barrel shotgun, or you can get a single pump. I said, no, I want a double barrel, stagecoach gun. And I gave it to him, and we had a guy named Double Nickel who did the work on it. That's his alias in cowboy world, is Double Nickel. I couldn't tell you his real name. And he made it where, because they take the ejector out. So when you pop the breech, shells automatically come out.
Right.
But they have to take that breech out. So they hold it out, and we got to take the shells out like this. You got that one moving action. So you can't have anything that wasn't done back in the period of those days.
Ah, okay.
So a lot of work had to be done, all this stuff, besides the lever action. It's still in pristine condition. And so I showed up to the first match, and, it's like I became everybody's friend because everybody wanted to see what the Navy Arms Winchester 1873 looked like in person because they'd never seen one. And I did this. I had a blast. I bought a new reloading press that I've still got in the other side of the gun room here that all it does is 38 special. I learned all about how my Winchester was better because it has light strike. It did better with Winchester primers. My Ruger Vaqueros did better with CCI primers. Started learning all about, because I was reloading everything on my own stuff. I learned about Trail Boss, that, is the reloading powders, little donuts. I was all into it. I just had a blast. And my alias was, Larry goes, we got to get you an alias and everything. And I said, came back and I said, Lightbender. So that's still my alias today. And that's funny to say that. That's where I'm going this weekend. I'm going to Arizona for the End of Trail in north of Phoenix at Ben Avery Range, where there's going to be 700-800 cowboy shooters next week. I'll be at. So.
Okay. Now, are you competing in it, or are you just there to?
No, I'm there to make money because they're all older and need prescriptions.
Good,
But
good.
I made a lot of fun stuff when I was doing cowboy for the first time because I didn't think anything about it. And I was making lenses. I went online on eBay and Amazon, and I started buying all these 1800 period specific frames. And I was
Mm.
making lenses for them and all this stuff. And everybody's like, "Man, what are you doing here?" And I was like, "Well, I make lenses for a living." So I started making lenses for them in the Hunter's HD Gold, but it didn't have a name yet. There's still no name for the brand yet, Beck, and all this is going on. It's just a lens that I make. I own an optical lab with my wife. It's just something I have access to do. And I started making lenses for people that were shooting cowboy. Didn't think anything about it. I'm just trying to help them, and they loved it. So they loved it. So I'm still shooting. I shot cowboy action shooting for about 9 months back in, that was it, because everything just changed pretty quick. Because Larry called me up. He disappeared for about. Well, let me back up one sentence. We were at the range one day, and he was looking at the steel targets, and he says, "Man, I can design a paint for these steel targets. That's better. I know I could do better than that. You need to do something with these lenses one day." And I'm like going, "Whatever, Larry. All right, no big deal. No big." So, and that was one of our last conversations. I didn't talk to him for about 3 or 4 months. So, needless to say, he calls me up and goes, "Hey, I'm putting a shooting team together." I'm like, "In cowboy? What are you talking about?" He goes, No. I found this whole new sport called Steel Challenge." I was like, "Oh, what?" So he had explained it all to me about rimfire and all this other stuff he was doing, and had a blast. He was putting a shooting team together, and he goes, "Well, I need to get a name and a logo so we can put you on the jersey." I was like going, "Whoa, I don't have any of that. I don't know. I don't have a name yet." He goes, "Well, you've got about 2 weeks." I said, "I'm going to need some help here." And I went back. His marketing director at Rainbow Technologies is the one that sat down with me, and we actually designed the Hunter's HD Gold logo. Now, let me back up real quick. I went home that night and just freaked out because I started telling Sherry. I said, "I don't have a name for this." She goes, "Well, figure it out." And I said, "Well, just make it out in Hunters because it's a hunting lens. Gold because it was a gold lens, but Hunter's Gold was already taken on that website for a deer supplement company." I was like, "Damn it. I like that name. Hunter's Gold sounded really good. I like that. And I
Mm-hmm.
started doing more research. And Sherry's like, "Well, just put something in between it and do it differently." I was like, "Okay. Well, we are using a high definition generator, HD." That's where the HD came from. So Hunter's HD Gold pretty much took me about 2 or 3 days to come up with a name.
Hmm.
And then I went back to the marketing director that Larry gave me access to because he was a graphic designer and all this stuff right there. And I told him, I said, "I really like." He goes, "What do you want in your logo?" And I've been in marketing my entire life in retail management. And I said, "Well, I like logos that have hidden stuff in them, like FedEx with the arrow, like Tostitos with the people eating. I can tell you all of them because I love all the logos." So we designed a logo that had the very first logo had Hunter spelled out, the H and D in the middle, and the gold where the D was the end of gold. This right here, the Hunter's HD right there. And we designed the lenses that would change from the light golden color to the dark golden brown. They didn't have the tagline on it yet. They changed so you don't have to. That's why I hid that at the bottom. But that's a logo we actually came up with in about 3 days.
Okay.
And that logo stuck. But the problem was, we didn't change it for a couple of years because I didn't have any. I was all by myself. I didn't have a support staff like I do today. And it was always, everybody's calling it Hunter's Gold and, Hunter's H. They didn't know the HD was in the middle. It was hidden. I did a good job.
Oh
It
yeah,
was really
yeah.
everybody called it Hunter's HD forever, or no, Hunter's Gold forever. Or Gold Hunters. It was all over the place because nobody realized it was the way you're supposed to read an order, but
Right.
it was just hidden in the middle with the H and the D. And that's when I started. I found out about Steel Challenge, and I said, "What is this going to cost me? To sponsor your team? I don't have this kind of budget. I don't want to go to Sherry with this yet because margins are good in optical world, but they're not great to have a lot of extra income coming in just to be able to dump stuff into a whole new program." He goes, no, I got like 8 people. If you'll just supply them with eyewear, then we'll put your name on the logo and put your logo and everything on the jersey. I'm like going, all right, that's good because I figured it all out, and that's how it all got started in the competitive shooting world. And that was in 2017, 16, 17. Again, it all happened pretty quick. And then I went to my very first match in late 17. It was the Rimfire Challenge Shooting Association's World Championships that Michael Bain was a part of back in the day, and that he had bought from the NSFF. And I went there to that event, and that's where I met. That was my first one to go to in late, I think late October, something like that. I don't remember when it was, but it's in North Alabama. So it was just a day drive because I still wasn't doing anything in the shooting sports. And I met Michael Bain, and I met Brian Hacker with Tandem Cross. And I went to Michael, and I saw Brian had his set up where, he's doing his thing. They're over there doing a service, putting, parts on guns with Tandem Cross, with rimfire and all that other stuff. And I was like, well, this is pretty cool. This is neat. And I talked to Brian, and he had said, we'd met. And he says, oh, I'd heard about your lenses and everything else, and talked about it. And I said, well, how many matches you go to, a year? And he'd said probably 4 or 5 or something like that he was doing. And I talked to Michael Bain, and I told him about, hey, if I did something like this, would you help me out with matches to go to? And Michael, he was very nice from the very beginning, and we're still good friends today. He told me where to go to. So that's why, I think one of the matches I ended up in 2018, which was not a Steel Challenge match, was the PCC World Championships that happened one time at Lucas Oil Range. And I was there because of that. And I think I had 7 matches that were initially on the schedule in 2018 to go to, and I think I ended up doing like 20 or 25 matches because I had a blast, and I was able to educate. Because when I was going out, Sherry goes, what are you going to do? I was like, well, I've gone out with this product and let people try it. She goes, what do you mean? I said, well, based on how we're selling it, because I figured out the MSRP, what it was going to be able to be in a situation to be profitable. And and a lot of people ask me about the pricing. I'm glad I get a chance to talk about that. I wanted to price Hunter's HD Gold like the top of the line Costa lens or a medium high end grade of Maui gems. Let me tell you why. And another thing about it, because people ask all the time, is Hunter's HD Gold polarized? And I'm like, no. They took away from the optics, and that market, the fishing market, is already enveloped by the 2 companies I just mentioned. Mm-hmm. But I wanted to be in a situation about that price point of if you think of Maui Gem, you think of Costa, you think those are the 2 premier brands. And those Maui Gem is the best polarized lens on the market, hands down, bar none. And we use the exact same generators to make lenses as they do. So I've got the same quality. I just don't make glass. But they're hands down, they're the best polarized lenses. So if I can price Hunter's HD Gold with or without a prescription at that $375 mark, I knew on the prescription side was going to be a no-brainer because their prescriptions get up to $600 to $1,000 just that quick. Right. But it costs me the same to grind a lens in prescription as it does non-prescription because it's just the changing of the formula. But there's no extra cost there. But the doctors mark it up. And like I said before, I'm a wholesale optical lab. We're selling I've had doctors contact me, go, hey, I'd like to carry Hunter's HD Gold in my office. I'm like going, you're not going to make any money. And they're like, what do you mean? I'm like, I'm selling it to the customer for the same price you're buying it to me from. They're like, never mind. Right. So I'm wholesale direct. And I've had a lot of optometrists that are shooters as well come to me and say, what gave you this idea to do this? And I'm like going, well, I'll be blunt with you, but if you were doing your job behind the chair, asking them what their lifestyle is, besides just trying to get them in and out on the eye exams, I wouldn't be here right now because this technology could have been figured out a long time ago if there was a need for it. But when you go to your eye doctor for an eye exam, they're trying to get you in and out as quick because insurance is so controlling of what they can spend or not spend, and people aren't thinking about buying a second or third pair. And that's one
Right.
thing, it's just I'm a retail guy, and a lot of doctors' offices aren't set up that way. So with all that happening, that was my price point because I had polarized lenses have one feature: they're polarized. Hunter's HD Gold has like 5 or 6 features, and you can do so much more for you
Right.
than a polarized lens. So that's where I came up with the pricing on that. But it's been all just crazy ever since because my first USPSA match was the Mississippi Classic in 2018. When I saw people running with guns for the first time, I was blown away because
Yeah.
I was like, oh, this is not good. Because you remember, I'm still just a hunter slash, still challenge, whatever. That's all I'm used to. Cowboy moving from one window to another. But we're not running full sprint. No.
Or falling or tripping or
Exactly. So that was a whole other game. And when I got involved with USPSA, that was the light bulb going off of going, okay, this is something that is bigger, that can be bigger than me, and this is something that can help a lot of people now. So, and that's where I'm at now, and we keep growing every year.
now let's talk about helping people here. Obviously you've got the gold lenses, which you're wearing right now,
Yes.
and so let's talk a little bit about some of the lenses and what makes them different and what are the pros and cons to them, because like I know what they are because I've put them on,
Yes.
and I know like what you'll explain is always, there's always variation. Not every person sees the same way. Not everyone's different, all that kind of stuff. But
That's correct.
so let's start with the gold, since that's the flagship.
Yep.
What is it that you found the gold lenses provide the best results for, depending on what you're looking
Well,
for?
for the original thing they were created for in the hunting world, they give you 30 minutes more light in the morning, 30 minutes more light in the evening to hunt. Because in the state of Alabama, hunting hours were defined by 30 minutes before sunrise, 30 minutes after sunset.
Yeah,
That's when
same.
the animals move the most. These lenses work for that. Now, remember the scenario I gave you earlier, if people are still listening to my voice, is when you're going from binoculars to rifle, to everything, you have to acquire your target faster. These Hunter's HD Gold lenses allow you to see antlers up to 200 yards better. So I went from looking out the window of the shooting house and seeing, yep, there's a deer, straight to my gun, skipping the binoculars. Because
Okay.
in my situation, I needed that extra, 2 or 3 seconds because the deer is going to be moving. So being able to identify antlers quicker. Now, one thing we noticed also on turkey feathers that scared me when that first happened, because I was in hardwoods and we saw some turkeys, and turkey feathers have an iridescent color to them on their tail feathers anyway.
Uh huh.
But these gave them like a glow that was different in the hardwoods, and it made them really easy to see. And when that happened, I called the game wardens, Darren Clifton, a game warden who's retired now in Lamar County, Alabama. And I said, hey, I need some of you and your guys to come by. I need you to try out this lens and make sure what I've got here is legal. Because I was, being a brand new landowner, being a brand new hunter, I was up on everything. And I did not want any reason to have something I might have made for myself get me a ticket. Because
Right.
if I'm getting a ticket, it's for speeding. It's not something for something stupid. But my point being is we had some game wardens that came and tried it out, and they all loved it. And some of the game wardens in Lamar County still wear them today. So so the hunting side of it, that's what we saw.
Okay.
On the cowboy action side, yeah, you see your targets faster, but the targets are already 7 to 10 yards away, or 7 feet to 10 yards away. There's not a lot of, in cowboy action shooting, you're shooting right there. The target's in front of you. But what they did do, because when I first started doing this, and I told Sherry, I think I've got something here. Sherry, being the business owner she is, she goes, "Where's our liability?" I'm like going, "What you talking about?" She goes, "If somebody's shooting something and they get hurt, where's our liability?" I said, "I don't know." But I didn't stop there. But 2 days later, I went to her and I said, "I figured it out." She's like, "What'd you figure out?" I said, "We're going to make all Hunter's HD. Well, it was Hunter's HD Gold then because Larry was around. We're going to make all the Hunter's HD Gold lenses with safety frames, and the lenses are all going to be ANSI standard. 2015 standards at the time, because back when I first started, OSHA standards were only 2003, and I made it OSHA standards 2015. So I went through that process, got all my OSHA certifications. And she says, once you get all your OSHA certifications, then you got my blessing. So I got that done, got OSHA certifications up now to 2020 standards, and OSHA only requires still 2003 standards on ANSI ratings for lenses. So when Hunter's HD Gold first started out, it was a big thing to get over, because I didn't realize there was so much vanity in the shooting sports. I didn't meet you early on. If I'd have met you first, I'd have figured it out. But I didn't meet you till later on in my life. But all the safety frames I was using to begin with, they're not meant to be pretty. They're meant to be functional and protect your eyes.
They do tend to come across a little birth control goggle-ish looking sometimes.
100%. Even Sherry told me, she goes, I love everything you're doing, but your frames are god ugly. I said, you're the one that told me, where's the liability at? So this is your fault.
So that's right. Okay, now we know who to blame.
Exactly. But through the process of doing this, I got to work with some other companies that are making safety frames. And now I've got safety frame companies actually listening to me on what is needed, to do it. Because we've done a lot of changes since 2018 to where we're at today with our frames. Done a lot of changes.
Yes.
Because we realized, we did some testing. We did some live wearer testing. Nobody knew it. But, I used to go to matches, and you might have saw me at Nationals one time. People who came by and registered, on the iPad, I give away a free pair at Nationals. I'd stand up front up there, with Mike and draw a name real quick and say, here's your free pair. Have a good day. But that free pair wasn't needless to say, a safety frame, but it had the same safety thickness in the lenses. Because I can't, and it didn't have the ANSI markings on them. So we gave away a lot of pairs of frames using different, like what I'm wearing now. This is a Maui Jim frame, but it's got the lenses are the safety thickness that it needs to be for protection. It just don't have the ANSI markings in the top corner because the frame don't say Z87 on the inside. So you can't put ANSI markings on the lens unless the frame says Z87 plus, like it does, like you see. So a lot of, like I said, I've learned more about so much stuff. I could nerd out and go into all kinds of things, but it's just been an amazing what's been happening. Where all that's going to from the start to where we are now. So
yeah. Now, so what is it that you've heard shooters say are the benefits of the gold?
Yes, Steel Challenge. When it first got started, people were seeing the edge of the steel targets better, and that was helping them see their hits so they could move faster. So, and Steel Challenge is where it all got started at, and people were able to see, on an edge hit on a steel plate. I became an RO as well because I wanted to learn more about the sport. But if you hit a plate on the side in Steel Challenge, if you can go to the plate and see that marking, that's considered a hit.
Right.
And in Steel Challenge, you go, if you go bing, 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 and they say, missed one, you're allowed to stop at that point, make your gun safe and walk out there and look at the target in Steel Challenge. And if there's an edge hit, then that's a hit. We go back to like we're doing it, and you don't have a miss. So I was allowing people to see the targets more clearly in Steel Challenge against every kind of whatever the background of the berm was made of. Mm-hmm. The contrast was incredible. So the contrast and everything was just a home run to be able to see the steel targets. When I did World Speed Shoot one time, there was Blaine and Bryce Dupuis out of Mississippi. They were shooting Steel Challenge, but they also were shooting USPSA, but I didn't really, see them in any matches. They got a pair from me. Barrett, their father, bought them a pair at one of the matches I was at, and they had all this feedback about being able to see the perfs in the paper better on the brown cardboard targets. And I was like, that's kind of neat, because I didn't know what that was or meant, but I just said, okay, good deal. And then when I went to the Mississippi Classic for the first time, I do demo days everywhere I go so people can try it before they make a decision on it. People were saying the same thing. They could see the perfs in the paper. So they could see their A hits. They could see if it's a C hit, or worst case, they could see their mics. They could see what they're shooting at a lot better at different distances. So it gave them that contrast as well. And if you can see the perfs in the A zone, that helps you, being target focused. If you're target focused, to be able to zone in on that a lot more. Mm-hmm. So it was kind of cool. And so that's where the gold is. We talk long story to get around to that. Sorry,
no problem. So that's the gold lenses, and those, interesting fact about me. I learned very quickly about putting your name behind a product that you don't believe in. Right? Like I've seen shooters that have logos on their jerseys, yet they don't actually use the company's product. They just put the logo, like they think whether or not it's a cool factor. It's like putting a sticker on your car gives you 2 more horsepower. No, it doesn't. It just whatever.
People want to belong to a tribe. You know that.
Yeah,
Michael Bay say that a lot.
Yep,
so absolutely. That's why I feel that comment from him.
And so, and also with my history as far as like starting with a Glock, and then when I wasn't winning nationals, I got upgrades and spent, I bought a $500 gun, and I then proceeded to put $1,500 worth of work into it, and I still wasn't winning nationals. So I sold that and bought an STI Millennium Custom Infinity Hybrid gun, and still wasn't winning nationals. And I found out very quickly that it's very much so the Indian, not the arrow, right? Mm-hmm. And So I kind of got over being a gear snob fairly quickly. Once I'd already bought all the expensive gear, it's time to get over it because you're still not winning. And when you first hit the scene, it was interesting because my mindset, not that I didn't like you. I thought you were great. You were an awesome dude for sure. And I always loved the companies that come out and support matches. But as far as the product went, I was just kind of like, it's just another lens. That was my mindset, right? Like, yeah. And then when I saw the pricing of it, I was like, whoa, it's a very expensive lens. Like, now I'll say this too. One of the other reasons I didn't necessarily look too much more into your company is because when I did see the frames, I was like, oh, I don't care if they're good. I don't want to wear those, right? Like, I'll stick with my Oakleys. Oakleys are good, and that was kind of like my bread and butter. You were able to make a believer out of me, and it was because you did something that a little bit of selfishness from my side. You did it for the U.S. shooting team that was going to go to the World Shoot, where you offered a pair of lenses, and I remember that we hadn't really had too many interactions with one another, I don't believe, but you basically, I was just walking past your booth one day. I can't remember what nationals it was, but you told me, you were like, hey, you're going to leave those frames with me after the match so I can make some lenses for you, right? And I was wearing my Oakley flak jackets, and that was when I found out that you could make lenses for frames.
That was probably 2019 Nationals. It's the end of the year, and we had not officially rolled out custom yet.
Okay, yeah. Because I didn't know you could do that.
I knew in January of that in 2020 we were getting ready to roll out. I've been planning this for a while. I don't do anything without putting it to the ringer. But I was getting ready to roll out Hunter's HD Gold Custom because we've been testing it for a couple of years with frames that weren't safety frames. And, there are disclaimers on the website. If the frame, if you get hit with something and the frame doesn't do the job to hold the lens right, that's not the lens responsibility. That's the frame, responsibility. Because if you choose not to wear a Z87 safety frame, that's your choice.
Right.
But I know the lenses are going to be fine, and we've proven that over and over again. But yes, it was probably at the end of 2019 Nationals, and we're probably down in Florida because I spent 2 years in Florida a lot.
yeah, we all did. So it might have been there, yeah, and I gave them to you, and then you got the glasses back to me in a couple of weeks, and I remember
could have been a couple of days, a couple of weeks. Whew, that was a long time.
You're actually no. I think it was about a week, like because I think it was I got them to you on a Sunday, but you were traveling back, so there was a little bit of travel time, and then it was probably by like the next week or something. But either way, I got them back, and the first thing I did was I put them on, and immediately like so much light, like So to put your lens on, I feel like it's important for people to know if you're going to try Brian's lenses here with Hunter's HD Gold, you have to give it like 5 to 10 minutes. It's
Exactly right.
especially if you're starting outside. Like if it's a bright sunny day and you're putting them on your face for the first time, just know
Yes.
you're going to get a lot of visual information all at once because these lenses really do help.
Especially if you're wearing dark polarized lenses, which a lot of people do before they realize there's more light coming to your eyes. I'll tell people all the time, you're wearing dark sunglasses. When you first put these on, you're going to be like, wow, just like you said, but there's no unhealthy light getting to your eyes. So it's going to be bright, but you're not going to be squinting, is a big difference with a lot of people. And after about 6 or 7 minutes, up to 10 minutes, like you just said, your eyes decompose and relax a little bit from all the stress of what you think is going on, and then the color goes away. You don't see a color anymore.
Mm-hmm.
It all becomes clear contrast. And I can't explain it. I'm not a doctor, but I use a lot of medical dyes, and it's pretty cool.
Well, and so like I said, when I first put them on, it was like sensory overload visually for me, right? Then I did a test where I covered one lens up and I put them outside for about 5 minutes, and then I got to see how dark they actually got, and like, they changed so you don't. I was just like, yeah, Brian, we'll fucking see, right? Like let's take a look. And I remember when I looked at the lenses side by side, and I was like, wow, like they're pretty much sunglasses now. Like, okay, cool. I can wear these outside in the range now, so let me go ahead and give them a test. And I think I'm not going to say that your glasses made me a better shooter, but the first match, first nationals that I shot once I got your glasses back, was single stack nationals where I took third. So it was my first time ever being on the podium. And it just happened to be after I'd gotten your glasses on my face, and I was just like, "Oh, well, maybe there is something to this." It's definitely not. I worked my butt off for sure. Okay, don't get me wrong.
You did.
But what I did find throughout that whole match was just it felt like there was less visual strain. My eyes weren't as tired at the end of the day, even though everything seemed so much brighter.
That's exactly right.
When it got, so.
With all the technology we put into the lens, it blocks 100% UVA, 100% UVB, 100% blue light. It has a backside UV coating, so if you're here shooting and the sun's behind you and you're getting reflective off the back of the lens, that's blocking UV. So you're not getting any unhealthy light to your eyes all day long.
Yeah.
And when you have reduced eye strain. There's so much more it does for you than just the visual acuity that you get from it. You're exactly right.
See, and then after so now you made a believer out of me. Then we start talking about some of the other aspects of it, like the dark time, and I'm just kind of sitting there like, well, I don't shoot matches in the dark unless it's a night match, in which case I run clears because whatever. But
or if you're in Alabama and the time changes, then you're on the last squad.
right, for sure. And
the people that were wearing Hunter's HD Gold didn't have much of a problem like everybody else did.
Well, and I'll say this too. So like I said, like I don't back a product. I don't back a product unless it's something that I really do believe in. I do right. See the value, and there's you put up or you shut up, and you guys definitely put up. But there was another instance that happened where I made Kelly, my girlfriend, a believer in your product, which was that, once I moved out here to Missouri, hunting is like what you do in the fall time. Like if you're not a hunter, you're kind of like the weird vegan dude that buys oat milk, right? And so we went out hunting one night together, and I had my lenses on, she didn't. We were going out for an afternoon sit, and as the light's getting darker, we start hearing leaves rustling in the ground, and we're both scanning for it, and she's wondering what it is. And I go, "Oh, it's a possum." And she goes, "How do you know?" I go, "Well, I can see him. He's right over there. He's about 40 yards out, walking across the ground there." And she looks and looks and looks, and she's like, "I don't see anything." So I go, "Well," and hearing you talk about how it gives you so much more light, I take the glasses off my face, and I'm instantly like, "Holy shit, it's dark." And I give them to her, and I go, try these real quick. And she puts them on, and she's like, as soon as she puts them on, goes, oh, there he is. I was like, holy crap. And now I can't see him. I know where he is, but now I can't see him anymore. So the fact that, yeah, absolutely. And then there was actually one match. I went down south, shot a match here in Missouri. Was the Ozark Classic, I think is what it was called. And so I drove down that morning. Like I left like 3:00 in the morning, drove down, shot the entire match in one day, and then I'm driving back up. And so it's, 11 midnight when I'm driving up into town. And I actually stopped, pulled my car over, got into my gun bag and pulled the glasses out and put them on my face so I could keep driving in the nighttime, because I was having such a hard time making out, not necessarily the lines. I'm looking for the flashing eyes on the side of the road to keep me from smashing a deer, right?
Mm-hmm.
And as soon as I threw those on with the help of the headlights, I actually noticed that I could, where I was originally seeing raccoons and stuff like that, I was actually getting to see them a little bit further down the road than when I wasn't wearing them. So
yes,
it was great that you were able to put your money where your mouth is and make the product that you did, because I've found that it's helped me out, not just in my shooting world, but in getting home safely when it's late at night, and then the hunting side, when lights getting dark. Like I do see a whole lot more with those lenses on. So I'll absolutely back your saying about it, because I am a true believer in the Hunter's HD Gold lenses for sure.
Thank you so much. They're good for the golf course as well.
Are they? See, I'm gonna have to try that. See,
they'll help you. They'll help you see the curvatures in the greens a lot better on the golf course. It's weird. It's pretty cool.
Well, but the problem is that means it's going to also help me see the curvature in my ball flight, which is pretty significant. And I can see that. I can see that good enough without lenses.
Yeah, maybe.
I can finish 18 holes in 9 shots because my ball just keeps flying to the next hole over every time I hit it. But
exactly. It's been a while since I've been on the golf course, but I remember those days well.
yeah, exactly. So, all right. So now we've got. So that's the gold. Let's talk about the rubies real quick, because that's a little bit different. And we learned very quickly. Here's a quick note: don't drive with the rubies, because every green light will look like it's just broken and not on.
Yeah, I didn't know that when I created the lens, because I never wore it driving. Because I had a lot of people coming to me the first 2 years saying, "I like this, but I like this, but in this situation, but," and some of those people were shotgunners. And they wanted to have something that made their, be able to stare at the sky more. And granted, Hunter's HD does great for contrast. You're looking at burns, but they're not designed for staring at the sky all day long either. They're not going to hurt you, but you're not going to get that kind of contrast off the clouds like you are with, against the berms. So, I'm listening to people. I went to Aguila Cup in 2018 as well, another one that Michael Bain sent me to go to, and that was a mixture of rimfire challenge, shotgun, and everything. They only had it in America 1 year, and that's when I ran into a lot of shotgunners. They were all wearing these expensive, Pilas and everything else, and Ranger RV, all this expensive stuff, and they're all like, "Man, I love it." I said, "I'm doing demo days. Go shoot with them," and they go shoot with them, and they'd come back and say, "Man, I love it. I just wish you had this. I wish you had that." And I started asking why to a lot of them. They're like, "Well, this is how we've always been, taught and trained." And I thought to myself, well, these other companies have done a great job in their marketing. So instead of studying colors, I started studying the UV spectrum. What do these colors really do in the UV spectrum to block certain amounts of light? Does that make sense what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So there's different market there to study. So I went to the medical side of UV. And if you go to UV spectrum, it's all over from, blue light being at 480 nanometers and up, and some lower. That's how I know they block 100% blue light and everything else. But when I started studying I ordered a bunch of these lenses from these other manufacturers, because you have to know what your competition is doing so you know what you got to do differently. And, still, all the shotgun people were all using polycarbonate. And I knew right off the bat with Trivex that we use, it's a game changer alone, because the 43% more light, we already talked about it, that hands down shoots down anything else that's out there that's polycarbonate for clarity. The visual acuity. It's just like, it's like looking 43% more. It's like looking through a wonderful Bushnell and then going to a wonderful Vortex. They're both great optics, but one just goes, I really see why it's different now. Okay, that makes difference. Kind of same stuff. But, and glass is still the best optics out there. If I could make glass, I would. But you don't want glass anywhere around your eyes in the shooting sports, and that's why we don't have any use for it. So to be the best material out there besides glass, it's Trivex, period. Hands down. I've seen the studies. I've talked to the people at PPG Industries who actually created Trivex up in Pittsburgh. I've talked to those guys. I know they're scientists. I know what they're doing with it. And it was it. I mean, that's the reason, it was engineered, when it was first engineered, it was designed to be put in the cockpit of fighter jets because the extra 43% more light coming through that face shield cockpit allowed them to see their controls better. Duh. So, I knew what it was going to be doing. So when I'm getting all these feedbacks, I like purple. I like purple for this. I like rose for this. I like this and all this stuff. I'm gathering all this information, and we're doing. This is the year we rolled out Hunter's HD Gold Custom. Everybody was like, "Oh, this is wonderful! I can bring my own frames to you and everything else." My mind was like, "Yeah, they can handle that." My mind that entire year was all about Hunter's HD Ruby. That was all my mind was on for the entire year, trying to get it right. And of course, we were down in Florida at a range a lot where if you woke up in the morning and you had 1, 2, 3, or 5 and 7 in the morning, you were facing due into the sun. So I wanted to have Hunter's HD Gold would work with that, but I wanted a lens that would be like, okay, this is going to be something for that scenario as well. Didn't really pay much attention to it, but I was taking during 2020 Nationals, all the stuff we were down there doing, I had different color lenses all the time up in the morning. A lot of people, I go around video stages and stuff. You'd always see me on the range, but, when people weren't looking, I'm looking when that light's coming over that berm going, all right, that don't work. Throw that away. Right. There was lenses in the trash before I even left. I didn't even take them back to the lab. So I was doing live wearer testing all the time. But then, you've heard me talk about a medical dye. And then in 2021, was it 2020? Yeah, 2021, when everything was going nuts as far as COVID was pretty much high active and everything was going on, Marcus came to me and goes, there's a new medical dye that just came out. I was like, what's it do? He goes, well, it's designed for people that have color blindness. However, if you dye it a short time, it's this color. If you dye it a long time, it goes to this color. I'm like, you're shitting me. What? So it's a dyeing process that would change based on that. And he brought me some samples out before that, and I said, no, they're not the right color, because I knew what name I was going to call it. And I said, I showed him my ring, and my ring's got a diamond on there and a ruby. I said, I want this color ruby right here. Don't bring me nothing until I get that color ruby. And when he came to me with that new dye that just got released, I'm like going, all right, make me a pair of it. Let's see what it looks like. And I remember putting it on indoors, and I was like, this sucks, because it makes fluorescent lights do all this weird stuff. I was like, oh, I don't know what the hell you've done. This is stupid, because it looked horrible. Then I walked out the front door of the lab. It looked like I was on Mars. I'm like going, what have we done? I said, what is this? And all of a sudden, I look, there's a road that goes in front of the lab. I'm like going, what are these? Why is everybody's headlights on in the middle of the damn day? It was their running lights that made their running lights pop. And I was like, oh my God, that's their running lights. I'm doing this like everything else, freaking out. There's an elementary school across from the lab. I'm looking at their stop sign that's up there on the house. Like, God, oh my, that really popped out. And I looked at the orange sign a long way away that on the road. I don't remember what it was. I saw the orange pop. I was like going, all right. My eyes started calming down, and all the colors started coming back. That was really good, because when you first put Hunter's HD Ruby on, you're
oh yeah.
it looks like they're filming an episode for Mars, for a movie scene. It's intense. It's as the word that the very first time that word was used, and I still use it today, is Ben Steger said it's very aggressive, and I said I've been using that word ever since it being said that, because I'll tell people when you put these on, it's going to be aggressive. But it will calm down after about 10 minutes. And then it takes a good 10 minutes for your colors to come back. But when they did, everything really started popping. I started looking at my car, sitting there parked and looking at the tail lights. I'm like going, my car's not even running and that orange is popping. I'm like, I don't get it. So I went back inside. I told Chris, I said, make me a pair of these in Stan Shaparsky's prescription. And Chris is like, what frame did he have? I said, I don't know. We made us some Hunters HD Gold. Go figure it out. Make me a pair. He goes, all right. So he went and made me a pair for Stan Shaparsky. Now, Stan Shaparsky is a guy that when I have time, I go shoot shotgun with. He used to work for Smith & Wesson a long time ago, and he's no longer working with. He's retired now, and he shoots shotgun all the time. And I couldn't wait to get these, so I took them off. I did. They really were that aggressive. I took them off. And I said, let me just go back. I think I've got what I like, but I got to go shoot shotgun with him to see what's going to happen. And I called Stan up, and Stan, that's all he does on a daily basis is shooting shotgun. And we went and shot shotgun. I think it was probably a Thursday of that same week. And I got out of the car looking like some Marvel Comics, star or something with these ruby lenses on that just really get people's attention really quick when they first came out. He's like, what the hell are you wearing? I said, I don't know yet, but I got you a pair too.
Come here, guinea pig.
Exactly. I said, we're fixing to go shoot some sporting clays. And we went out in the woods shooting sporting clays at Shiloh Clays in South Alabama. And he usually shoots in the high 70s, mid 80s. That day he shot in the 90s. And he was amazed, and I was amazed because they muted the green. It made the green trees go away, and the orange popped on those clays like there was no tomorrow. And at Shiloh Clays, you got some that are open out in the sun. You've got some that are all covered in trees, and the Hunter's HD Ruby changes as well. So it goes from a light ruby color to a dark royal ruby color. Now, based on the UV spectrum I was looking at, the UV that was being blocked was the same blockages that purple and rose were doing, but doing it in one lens. So it's pretty cool.
Okay.
Going back to that. So the companies that own the shotgun market have done a wonderful job with their marketing. I hand it to them because I'm going to have a lot to overcome when I really get into the shotgun world. But when it comes down to the way I do things, and with my prescription price, they can buy 3 pairs of Hunter's HD Gold for 1 pair of the other brand. I'm gonna hold some hands pretty soon and have a lot of new friends. So,
Got it.
but we did. I didn't know anything. I didn't drive with them when I went to Shiloh because I just always wear my rubies, and I didn't know about the.
You always wear your golds.
The green light disappearing, huh?
You always wear your golds.
Yeah, I always wear my golds, but
Okay.
I didn't know anything about the green lights disappearing until probably 2 or 3 months into the product being launched, and I freaked out. So I'm having to go. I went to the website, put a disclaimer here. I'm freaking out. I said, man, I can't do this. And my marketing director, I love driving in these. And I'm like, oh my God, stop.
Well, and so, see, the reason I started wearing them for driving was because the fact that once you're inside your car,
yes,
that blocks all the UV rays. So now by wearing the golds, they just stay the light color, and it was just too much for me.
Oh, yes.
I know I look like I'm squinting, but I don't. No. I'm not. You know what I mean?
Let me tell you something. I have a pair of polarized sunglasses in my car. The only time I wear them, if I'm driving due east in the morning or due west in the evening, because that blinding glare coming in, you have to have polarized.
Yeah,
and it's always up there. I only wear them for about 30 or 45 minutes. But I still have driving as much as I do. I'm still grabbing my polarized lenses every once in a while because gold's not going to do it, because that's a blinding kind of glare that's different. That polarized is known for. That's what they're good for. But
so I started wearing the rubies to drive just so I got a little bit more tint. And the next thing I know, I'm sitting there and I'm like, that traffic light must be broken. Meep. Oh shit, it's green.
I've had
Oh,
I've heard
I was
so
that
many
guy.
stories.
That
I'm
was
waiting.
where, yeah,
Ooh,
that
I'm
was where
waiting to
I
get.
figured out that it
Yeah,
doesn't show green very well.
yeah. I'm waiting to get a bill one day for somebody's deductible. It's not good. It's not good.
Now, for those of you that don't know, if you ever decide to maybe go to a USPSA event or something like that Brian's going to be at, he's got a system, because I think this is absolutely fantastic. The idea that you normally people go and they like put frames on, put glasses on, and then they have to put them back on the wall and then walk off. And you do this thing of like, which ones do you want? Here, see ya. I'll see you in a
Yep.
couple days, and you just let them walk off with it.
Yep.
Let's talk a little bit about that. I mean, it's a great way, I think, for you to sell your product, because, like I said, once you experience shooting with them, it kind of sucks to do it without them.
Right.
So,
Well, just remember, my history is, remember, I came from retail management. I have been through all kinds of different promotions with different retail companies throughout the year. Remember when big screen TVs first came out? Hey, go take it home. Go try it. If you don't like it, you got 30 days to return it. All that kind of talk. You still paid for it, but you had time to return everything. I've seen every kind of marketing done in the world with that throughout my career, from once I was 21 years old. Now I'm 52. I'm still fascinated by marketing that happens every day. But to have a MSRP product of a price point of $375, I don't care how many times a shooter says this is the best thing out there, unless somebody gets to try it first, they don't understand it.
mm-hmm.
And that's what I talked about. I told Sherry when I started doing this, she goes, are you traveling to sell? I said, no, I'm traveling to educate people about lenses, because they don't understand the technology of lenses, because I didn't understand it. I mean, why not go buy something off $8 off the shelf that everybody else has got just to get eye protection? Because they're all going to do the protection. Don't get me wrong. They're all going to protect your eyes the same. Every company we talked about, every company we haven't talked about, they're all safety frames at some level. They're going to protect your eyes. So I'm not knocking any other brand out there that does that, because all of them from $8 to $1,200 protect your eyes. Okay, so I got that out there. But there's so much more technology that you can put into a lens. So when I go to do demo days, somebody puts them on and goes, "Wow!" They get that wow moment right there on the spot, because they got 43% more light coming to their eyes, like we talked about. Then I'm like going, well, go shoot with it, and you've got to go see if you like it. And they're like, what? I'm like, look, I love. You're shooters. You're not like the average customer that's out there. Anybody who owns a gun is a gun friendly person that's educated and does everything right, especially in the shooting sports. They don't want to be known as that guy that didn't return something, because everybody knows everybody. I didn't know that early on, but go try it, because I needed the feedback when I first got started. And it started off as Steel Challenge, so I needed the feedback. I said, go tell me what you like about it. What's more important to me is why you don't like it.
Right.
I asked for that feedback. I think I told you the same thing. I tell everybody, if you like it, great. That's wonderful. But if you don't like it, I have to know why. Because I built products and still working on products for the future by listening to shooters, to listening to people that are wearing it. People like yourself that get chances to wear things before other people do. Y'all are the people I'm listening to build new products. It's just not me reading a book going, did I get feedback yet? I don't care what they say. I'm still doing this. That ain't it.
Right.
We truly get feedback. And I get a lot of feedback from people, because a lot of people don't know this, but when the Hunter's HD Gold lens first came out in Steel Challenge, by the time the end of the year got here at 2018, I changed the color a little bit. And nobody knew it, because it was such a small change. People that wore it every day knew it and said, what is this? I'm like, give those back. Here's another pair. Have a good day. Because what we had when we first came out with it, you've seen my logo, how it goes from a light golden color to a dark golden brown.
Right.
When it first came out, when it first started, it started off in the middle of the gold. It didn't go all the way to the the brightness of the gold in indoor shooting. So we needed more contrast. So listening to people, we did a color change in 18, and less than 50 people knew about it. It was just so gradually, it was just done and fixed because it was a problem that not everybody had, but it was feedback I was getting on the range by listening to shooters.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how we do it. Now, what I've done now where we're at with demo days and everything else, because I told my wife, I said, we're going to do the same thing with prescriptions. She goes, what are you talking about? I said, I'm going to actually make their prescription up front and let them try it before they buy it with their prescription. She goes, you've lost your mind. I've got doctors that don't pay their bills. I said, gun people are not doctors. This is a whole other society that I'm dealing with. It's great. It's wonderful. Because here's another thing about it. I had a lot of people that wear a prescription all the time ask me, hey, why don't you make those little clip-ons that go on the outside of prescription glasses? I made a pair, and as soon as they got made, Marcus handed them to me, and I threw them back at him. I said, throw them away. He goes, what happened? It hit me. If you put Trivex lenses over polycarbonate, you're going to just see a color. The polycarbonate that you're wearing is still blocking the light. You can't get the wow moment. And so it never left the lab. But I told her, I said, oh, this is a great idea. No, it was a shitty idea because my physics wasn't working in my head at the time. Yep. But we do the same thing with prescription eyewear. You know, we let people try it before they buy it on their first pair. And that because that way you don't get that wow effect with your prescription until you have your prescription made. And that's what we've been doing since 1977 is making prescription lenses for ophthalmologists and optometrists throughout the Southeast. We got the prescription is the easy part. And nobody understands that because they'll go to I had to go see my doctor 5 times to get these prescriptions right. I'm like, I'm sorry. And we'll make it for them the first time. And they're like, these are better than my regular glasses. I'm like, yeah, yeah, because we're a true independent lab that's using high-end equipment, and your stuff, which is good stuff, is being sent off to a lab that's doing 1,000 jobs a day that doesn't have the quality control, and we're doing just our 200, 250 jobs a day, making sure everything's perfect before it leaves the lab. There's a difference in customer service and quality assurance and everything. So we do that as well for the prescription and doing demos. And Sherry's now told me that was the most genius thing she's ever heard anybody do because now we're making prescription glasses and then people are coming back saying, can you make my regular clear glasses too? We sure can. And it's going to be 70% cheaper than what you buy from your doctor. And they're a freak out. Because people are, we had one lady that she had like 14 pairs of glasses. And she found out I could do regular glasses. And we did all 14 of our other frames. And she said, what I spent here would have only got me about 5 or 6 pairs before. I said, yeah. There's a lot of markup in lenses. So it's a neat process.
Well, I know, yeah, every year when I have to go get my eyes checked, I'm just kind of like, well, I need contacts, but boy, my glasses are about 7 years old. I might have to just bite the bullet and get those updated.
You know a guy.
Yeah, I know. Well, now I do, but back then I didn't. Right? It was one of those moments of like, Well, I always wear my contacts anyways, but there's been a few times where something happened and my eyes just weren't agreeing with my contacts that day, and I'm just like screwed. And I'm putting on my glasses and just being like, boy, it's a good thing I've got all these street names memorized because I can't read that.
Yeah. But we've been doing a lot with supporting the shooting sports, and then as I was watching people in Steel Challenge when it all first got started, I'd see somebody's gun break, and I'd see somebody else loan them a gun. So in Steel Challenge, I said, well, I want to own some of these guns. So I go buy guns for my own because I wanted to have them. And I had just a table out there, a little 6-foot table out there with some guns. I got them customized by the Armory here in Pelham, Alabama. And I take them everywhere I go. And somebody go, what are these for? Hey, if your gun breaks, just use one of my guns to, finish the match. They're like, what? I'm like, well, y'all are doing it, so why can't I do it? So, and it's just grown it. The whole supporting the shooting sports with the Magical Mystery Tour and everything we do now is almost like a rolling shot show. So I've never shot that gun before. Well, hey, I've got ammo. Here's the gun. Go find a range. Go shoot it. And I sold a lot of JP5s for JP.
Well, your whole experience and I'm going to call it the experience because that's what it is. When people see you on the range, Yeah, you've got your mystery tour bus with windows dark enough to have some questionable things going on there potentially, but
We do podcast inside.
yes.
Even just because there's a bar and a cigar lounge doesn't mean anything else.
Well, and that's the thing that's part of the whole experience, because the one thing I've also noticed about you, Brian, is that God, you've got a heart made of the same shit that your lenses are, which is gold. I'm every person that comes up to you, they get a smile, they get a hello, how are you? They get a cone of gold. They get after the match is done. If you're done shooting, hey, did you shoot good? Nope. There's whiskey in the truck. Hey, did you shoot good? Yep. There's whiskey in the truck.
if the range allows it, I always ask the match director to make sure it's allowed because
or even a cigar.
Yeah, no, I give away cigars all the time. Yes.
Yeah.
No, I'm having a blast, and I truly mean I'm having a blast. I miss when the season's not really over with, but I choose to take some time off in November, December, and go like that. I miss being around my second family because everywhere I go to, it's just a whole. It's fun. I'm around the best shooters in the world, and they all may not wear Hunter's HD Gold, but they all know who I am, and they all want to talk. So regardless, I'm just having a blast. So it's like going to the Masters every weekend for me. It's pretty cool.
Well, and it's also kind of interesting, like for those that maybe see Brian at matches but don't ever stop by, say hi, and get to enjoy the experience. I mean, you put the awning out, you got the chairs, you got the tables, you got the ashtrays for the cigars. I mean, it's really awesome. It used to be a thing where like it was as soon as everyone was done shooting. I mean, it still is sometimes,
yes.
Unless you start serving Mexican food or making tacos and stuff out of the back of your truck. Sometimes you just got to go get some food after you're done shooting.
It does happen. Yeah, Corey K's been trying to get me to get some tacos though.
Yeah, see, but I find myself more times than not after I'm done shooting for the day, finding my way back at your van just to sit down, chat, unwind for a moment before getting in the car to then drive and continue on with what dinner plans or fixing the gun or whatever. But I got a couple quick fire questions for you. So we'll do these kind of rapid fire questions, and after that we'll just kind of wrap it up. So hopefully you're ready. I think I got some good ones for you this time. So
nice.
All right. Which superpower would you rather have? The ability to manipulate cheese or to have instant digestion?
Instant digestion.
Okay. Would you rather win the lottery or wake up tomorrow super fit?
Win the lottery.
Paper books or a Kindle?
Paper.
Okay. Would you rather go to a sporting event or a concert?
Concert.
Which concert?
Rock concerts. Any of them.
Is there one particular band that you would, alive or dead, that you would pick?
Metallica or AC/DC, as long as the original singer's back with AC/DC. Two concerts I haven't seen that I'll see Metallica at some point, but the one concert I truly miss was not being able to see AC/DC before he retired because of hearing problems.
Okay, what emoji do you use the most?
The gold heart.
That's good. That's better than the middle finger. That's probably one of mine.
That's better than yours.
And then, would you rather travel for the holidays or be the host for the holidays?
Be the host.
Be the host. Awesome. All right, Brian. Well, again, it was super awesome to chat with you. Thank you so much for taking your time to sit down and talk. Is there anything you want to add?
No, just the biggest thing is we talked about a little bit earlier before. We have our right to hunt, the Second Amendment. We have our right to defend ourselves with the Second Amendment, but there's so much more. You have the right to go have fun with your firearm. You have the right to go compete with your firearm. You have much more stuff is out there for our Second Amendment. So when you start hearing people talk about the Second Amendment, just don't think about hunting or shooting, don't think about just hunting or protecting yourself. Think about the other activities that are available because of the freedoms we have. And that's what I try to preach every day to people I know on the side of the street or people that never shot a match before. I usually have the same conversation with them. So that's how we make it last forever for our kids and everybody else behind us, is let everybody know, because we're under attack every day. And if we don't sit back and, if we don't act, then, we may not have to worry about it and our kids, but it'll go away if we don't take action at some point. So get
Very
involved.
slippery soap. Yep,
Yep,
absolutely.
get involved, have fun. It don't have to be a debate hate every time you talk about it. That's why I put it. Just be nice, have fun, and have conversation. That's what it's all about.
Perfect. Awesome. Well, I think that's going to be a great way to sign off. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. I hope you appreciate Brian's time and expertise and had fun listening. And I'll catch you on the next episode.